Hey guys, welcome back. We're going to be working on this Echo SRM 230 string trimmer. It has a run issue, and without further ado, let me show you what it is doing. You can see there's carbon and it's actually getting pretty wet and gooey, so definitely is running rich. I know that some of you are saying, well, why don't you just adjust the mixture? Well, I did. That is as far in as it goes. I cannot turn the mixture screw in any further than that, so yeah, there's that. Alright, well, I'm not going to bore you. This setup is identical to the SRM 225, which I have a couple videos on. The carburetor, though it's not the same model, the procedure for repairing it and rebuilding it is identical. And so I'm going to pull all of this stuff off, and I'll bring you back if there's something interesting. So what happened was, at some point in the past, this carburetor stopped working, and so I replaced it with one of those ones from Amazon, right? So I bought a carburetor on Amazon. It was like 12 bucks. It was cheaper than, you know, rebuilding the existing original carburetor, and I threw that on there. Well, wouldn't you know, within a year or so, that carburetor stopped working. And so, of course, I did it again. And I bought another carburetor from Amazon and threw it on there. That one was, I think, even cheaper than the first one. And you can actually see that. So one of them on there now is one of those carburetors. And then one of these is the other one. And then the other one, looks like this one, is the original Zama carburetor. You can see that it's old, the primer bulb and everything is all, you know, clouded up and brittle. But I think we're going to go back to this carb. We're going to try and attempt to rebuild the original carb and put that back on here and see if that solves our issues. We're going to get to taking this carb apart. It is the exact same thing as the SRM 225 carb, just slightly different size components. But what I'm going to show you, I got to check this over. I don't know what I did to it. I remember taking the the throttle assembly or the butterfly assembly out of it, and I don't know whether I put back everything correctly. Though it seems to kind of work, I just want to open this up and check. I did not show this on the SRM 225 carb, so I'll just run down real quick how this works. So first we're gonna, I already loosened that up, so we're gonna undo that nut, then this piece actually, and then we're gonna crank out the idle. Alright, so that comes out like that. And there is this washer here. That'll come out like that. And then we can take these 3 screws out. It's worth noting that right in the top of this, if it will focus, there is a brass plug in there, And down in there is the idle mixture screw, tiny little thing. So if you need to adjust the idle, you can drill that out and get to it that way. Normally you don't have to do that. Normally you don't have to mess with the idle. So this thing has a spring, which is probably going to pop. Yeah, so it popped, and apparently there is a black something. I don't know what, I guess that's a tiny sealing gasket or something like that. Maybe. And then in here, if we take this out, in here, if you can see it, is a little roller. And that one, oh, like that. See that? That just came out. And those are exceedingly hard to get back in. Let me get a tweezers and put that back. All right, let's see if I can get this back on here. Ha ha ha, first try. All right, so I'm gonna put this back together so everything is here. So when you put this thing back together, can you see that little hole down there? This spring sits into that hole and it sits down like that. You see that? And then that, and I lost my little roller again. Let me put that back in. Roller is back in, and then this will sit down in there like that. See, it's like a cam. It's a cam that it rides on. That roller rides on this cam, and it can go up and down. And that's what opens and closes the throttle. And so, all right. Then, on top of that, we have this. And we need to, I think it needs like half a turn counterclockwise. And that will put the tension on this thing. So if I put this back on like that, and I hold this, you see? So you need to put it on 180 degrees out and turn it counterclockwise 180 degrees to get the proper tension on that. So that's all there is to this. Don't forget the, when you put it back together, don't forget this thing. I'm going to put all of this back together off camera, then I'll bring you back. We're all back together. You can see how that works just right, just nice. Here is the diaphragm gasket and diaphragm kit. You can see it's a genuine Echo Zama kit, and here are the various part numbers. So I'm not going to show installing this because it's exactly the same as the SRM 225 carb. I will put a link in the upper right hand corner where you can go and watch that video, and it is the same procedure for this. The only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the primer bulb off of one of these. It looks a lot better condition, and use that. Otherwise, identical. Well, part of the problem is that all of these old primer bulbs are brittle. So there's 1, 2, and 3. So, yeah. It's been about a week, and I have not worked on this at all, but I've been in the process of ordering parts, so I have new primer bulbs. I ordered a bunch because, you know, the quality is not what it used to be, and I have a Echo SRM 225 as well as a Echo hedge trimmer. They all probably need primer bulbs, so, you know, just buy in bulk. It was cheap on eBay. I also bought a new fuel tank gasket, and I bought some new Viton, at least so they claim, Viton fuel line that is supposedly the same diameter, same specs as this fuel line. Now, the reason why I bought grommet and fuel lines is because I realized that how this thing actually works is that when you press this primer bulb, it doesn't actually suck or draw fuel up into this, it actually pushes air out of the return pipe and pressurizes the tank. At least that's how I think it is working. So really all of this has to be together, and all of this has to be a good seal, as well as the fuel cap, for this all to work. And this valve, or this breather right here, is a one-way breather. So I would think that if I sucked on the end, it would, I could draw air through, but if I tried to blow, it would not. So all of these lines are quite brittle. They have the plasticizer in them has been oozing out. I don't know if you can see it, but it's shiny and stuff. That's not the two-cycle oil. That is the plasticizer coming out of this tube. So this tube is getting this Tygon, I guess, is what it is. I replaced it 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, and it is getting very brittle and hard now, and it is actually shrinking and not making a good seal. So let us get all of this stuff out of here, all of the old stuff out of here, and put the new Viton line and the new grommet in and the new primer bulb in, and see what we're left with. It is so uncomfortable out here. It is 90 degrees, which doesn't sound so bad, but it's basically 100% humidity. It just rained. It is super wet. It is just horrible. I am soaked. It looks like I went swimming, but I really didn't. It's just the way it is. All right, that ought to do us. Let me put these screws back in, then I'll bring you back and we can connect the fuel line or the carburetor up to the fuel lines and see what she does. Now let's connect this one up to the return. I think I got these right. This one should go up to the fuel inlet. There you go. Perfect. All right, let's see. Moment of truth. There we go. Perfect. I think we were just not getting enough kind of positive pressure in this fuel tank. So if I open this cap now, I think we should hear a little bit of a hiss as the pressure is relieved. Let's see. Yes, I don't know if you heard that on camera, but I certainly heard it. So we are working the way that I believe we should be. So let me put all of this back together and we'll give her, we'll pull the pull start and see what happens. I believe this old grommet is just fine. It's still kind of squishy. It's not super hard. And when you force these new, thicker Viton lines through it, it should expand and force it up against the tank. So I think this one would have been just fine if we had just replaced the fuel lines. These Tygon lines, you can actually see it right here. Like, look at the end, how it's just, and kind of molded into that shape, and it's super hard. This line, all the plasticizer is come out, and it's just it shrank and it was not tight in the hole anymore. Yeah, I know. What do you say we go fire her up? Prime it some. Ignition. I smell some gas. Okay, that's good. Alright, it started to rain. Kind of runs. Well, where does that leave us? That leaves us back at the carb. So, I'm going to try and purge as much of this out as I can. Oh, that was dumb, wasn't it? Let me clean that up. I'll pull this back off, and we'll get to the high-speed jet in there. I don't know if it will run without the plug in it. This Zama OEM carburetor, it has a plug in it with a rubber O-ring. So I don't know whether it's going to suck air or spew fuel out of there when if I remove it and put it back together. I guess we'll see. And this is a plug, and you see it has an O-ring. I don't know whether that is going to interfere or what. I just don't know. I pulled the jet out. If you can see it here. This is not an adjustable jet. This has a hole drilled straight through it, and it screws all the way down. I did not realize that. I guess some carbs are, the jet is adjustable. This one is not. Pulled it out, cleaned out in there. So we can actually put that back in there. But what I actually found was, I don't know if I showed it or not, but guys didn't tell me, put these in the wrong order. So this is supposed to be on top. The gasket is supposed to be underneath, mating with the carb body, and this diaphragm is supposed to be up there, like this. Why didn't you tell me? That definitely caused a problem. Alright, back together correctly, I think. Let's go give it a try. Alright, choke on, ignition on. little bit of hesitation. That might clear up once we put the air filter on. The jet may be a little bit undersized, but overall works pretty good. See, restart, no choke. I'm happy with that. A little bit of hesitation, less hesitation now that the air filter is back on. That tells me that the jet is probably slightly undersized, which is to be expected from a a statically drilled jet that you can't adjust. But pretty good for a machine that's almost 30 years old and has gotten regular use every season. So happy with this. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining me on this one. If you like these videos, be sure to leave a comment and subscribe if you like. And I'll see you on the next one.